This is the new phase of BMW SUVs, especially in the electric platform scheme. What you see here is the next generation of the BMW X3 in the electric form, or the next gen of the BMW iX3, which is there already at this moment. But this new generation here, based on the so-called Neue Klasse at BMW, its translation is new class. German lesson for today, listen and repeat, Neue Klasse, new class. This will bring better charging speed, higher range and also less weight, more efficiency and so on. Soon more details to that, everything you need to know about this new iX3 here with Thomas and Autogefuehl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. And yeah, this is really the most prominent phase we can see. The iX, at this moment, really large electric SUV, more has this mono kidney or beaver grill, as some say. Here, once again, they say, hey, we want to have the double kidney again. And actually, BMW double kidney started that way, that they were more vertical than horizontal. And then over the years, they moved more and more in a horizontal way. Then also you can see here, the headlamp scheme is more in a layer style to give you a three-dimensional depth of that. And you can see the materials here in the lower area. These are made by recycled materials as well, and you have this visualization of that. This is also the scheme of this vehicle. It has a lower CO2 impact, not only from the materials that are being used, but also later on. So they use more mono materials that you can later on also recycle this vehicle again when it reaches the end of the life cycle overall. So they are also going full circle into the whole supply chain. We've also recently did a almost 2-hour documentary on that about all the background facts on sustainability. Here you can see 22-inch wheels, really large and impressive. And what you can see also from this typical two-box scheme is the hood is relatively long. So the design decision here is to go for a vehicle that is beautiful in the eye of the viewer and not for a vehicle that screams out, I am electric. And that's also the feedback we get from you actually, that you say, hey, I don't want an electric vehicle that looks electric, I just want it to be beautiful, period. And I think this works here very well. So it's one of the rare, very early prototype vehicles, which I think looks really cool. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Most prominent here in the side profile is this large greenhouse. This Neue Klasse was first used from the naming in the 1960s, from 1962 to 1972, and was later basically the base for the BMW 5 Series. And at that time, vehicles in general over the whole market had these large greenhouses. And I think it looks cool, it looks retro at the same time. And now you ask yourself, yeah, but what about the sun that comes in, it heats up the cabin and so on. So I talked to the engineers about that, and the side windows, they are more or less with the same technology than before. But here, the panoramic roof, you can see on the top, and soon we'll also get to the interior. So there are different technologies available for that. You know that the current iX has this electrochromic shade, which you can turn on and off. Here they want to use either this glass roof, but with a special UV layer that the sun rays are being filtered, or if you live in a very, very hot state, for example, the Texas customers of Tesla, for example, they put actually some wrap over their panoramic roof because it's just getting too hot. So they all thought about that, and they say they still want to offer this vehicle here with a fixed roof if it's just too hot where you live, that you don't have to get this panoramic glass roof there. But definitely also very interesting. Towards the rear, when you follow me around, I think here is more or less a rather typical BMW SUV shape. So I think they really stay true to the design origin. From the form, you can see that they also transport something between X3 and X4. So it's more or less this one vehicle for that class. We'll see how it ends up later, because this platform here is the first vehicle that will arrive on that platform in 2025, second half year of 2025. But there will be more vehicles to follow on that platform, not only the electric 3 Series, but more vehicles. Here you can see really wide tail lamps. And if you now think, wait a minute, that's just all concept vehicle, it will never come to the market that way. Actually, this is already quite close to the market version, so you cannot expect big visual changes. Interesting also that here the BMW logo is basically like stamped in or carved in the paint here, which is a beautiful matte paint here, by the way. Something similar to what you at this moment get under the name of frozen grey at BMW. In the lower part you have this diffuser kind of really strong styling. Of course it reminds me a little bit more of combustion engines, but why not use these combustion engines design elements that have worked well also here on the electric vehicles. As for the EV facts, first of all, what's important, they will move to an 800 volt charging architecture. So this means definitely faster charging. They say that all the electric facts like charging, range, efficiency, all being improved by 30% if you compare a nowadays iX3. What would that mean? Of course, there are always these official figures and so on, but as a realistic range figure in, also maybe not ideal conditions, this would mean 500 kilometers or 300 miles of range for this very vehicle. That's a conservative estimate. I usually do that here because I want to consider also, like not ideal conditions. From their latest test drives, BMW have told me that we can rather even say like 600 kilometers or 370 miles. Of course, it always depends on weather, temperature, and so on and so on. But, that's also a surprise to us then when we are able to drive that vehicle, and then we can tell you more about the concise consumption figure. What's clear is that this is way efficient, way more efficient than the ones we see at this moment. They not only go mainly just bigger with the battery, it's really about making the whole vehicle efficient from the drivetrain and so on. Charging flap is here on the passenger side, and we have one figure we can release right now, and is that they say they can achieve 300 kilometers or 190 miles of range in 10 minutes to recharge again. Of course, we'll also keep you updated with all these figures and then later on with a concise charging test. You'll of course also have all-wheel drive models. The X models stand for all-wheel drive. That means then one electric motor in the rear, one electric motor in the front. But what's very interesting, I gathered with some deep talks yesterday, is the new architecture behind the vehicle and also their electronic control units are able also to control 4 electric motors, so 1 electric motor per wheel. So it is possible that with this new platform we'll also have a version, maybe like an electric M version, which has indeed 4 electric motors for the whole vehicle, 1 per wheel. And then of course you have the perfect torque vectoring. About these electronic control units, so far they were basically all over the vehicle and there was wiring all going over the vehicle. Now they actually bundle these electronic control units and make 4 main ECUs. And there will be one also placed, rather here in the front for the drivetrain. Then we have one that will be placed rather in the rear, always depending where the wiring makes most sense. This will be responsible for the ADAS, so for all the advanced driving assistance systems. Then you will have one ECU, electronic control unit, for the base systems like wipers and so on, everything that just goes on every day. And one unit for the UX, the user interface. We'll also take a look at that very soon with all the infotainment. There are huge changes to come, some which are already quite, similar to other versions we have seen before, but also some very new stuff like the panoramic vision, a completely new display there in the front. Here at this very early vehicle you can see it's the camera mirror, very small of course, it will be bigger than even with the camera mirror, but I guess there will also be normal mirrors being offered, especially since for the US customers they have to have the normal mirrors anyway. I'm also a fan of the normal mirrors anyway. Aerodynamics wise, it is an advantage, yes, to have the camera mirror, but not the largest ones. What happens, at the wheels and especially at the back of the vehicle is actually even more important for aerodynamics. Then we can see here the door handles. They are flush and they are wing themselves basically, and I can open them right here. So press it here and then carefully open the door. Is one of a piece at this moment. You can see here frameless windows also, so some kind of coupe styling. And at the inside of the doors we can see is a mix of fabric and then this rather sleek material. This has a structure or here, so there will also be some physical buttons. I heard there will also be physical buttons for the mirrors and so on. So this is not 100% final, but the base styling will be like this. And material-wise, this is also very interesting. They want to push 2 different things. First of all, this you can see is the whole fabric interior. It's microfiber on the steering wheel and rather fabric on the seats. And this is more reminding us of a living room. Also, I think there's one special brand who also does this structure there, in the red area, for example. I think I've seen some chairs or sofas with a similar styling. So this will be choice number one. And the thing is that I always feel that fabric seats make sense because they are warm in wintertime and they are cool in summertime. Then again, there might be use case, hey, I have a lot of kids and they might spill something on the seat. I want something to, wipe clean. Then as the alternative, they will offer high-grade leatherette, as we already know at this moment from the i7, i5 and so on, so-called Veganza or Sensafin, developed even further. And they also want to go for one that doesn't have raw oil ingredients. So they go fully plant-based then. There's a so-called Myrum material. We've shown that to you also in the documentary I mentioned earlier. And this is the material that is really then going full circle and not having oil, like raw oil ingredients. So, so many aspects to consider actually here. So I'm really I picked actually my trousers color here, or my pants color, according to the seat, of course. Yeah, and this is a completely new interior experience. We had the 3 Series EV, the next generation so far, and this one here, you have, of course, this rather upright SUV driving position that makes also a huge traveling feeling, and you have a really in-depth look to the front, and there is this new panoramic vision. So this is more or less a head-up display that is placed a little bit lower, and you have the basic functions like speed in there and the range, battery status. Oh, here they also say 100% battery, 600 kilometers of range, 370 miles. We'll see if that's true or not. I'm really really excited for that. On the right side you have the time and the date, more like for the passenger, and you'll soon see that we can put some things in there from the screen. Then again, you might wonder, wait a minute, head-up display? Yes, on top of that, you will also be able to get a head-up display with a 3-dimensional view that is then placed like even further, like almost on the road, as you can see here, but you do not have to get. I think this is actually fine. I would not need a head-up display. Headroom here, the fixed panoramic roof with 189, 6'2", still a lot of headroom left, no problem at all. The steering wheel, I think it's really beautiful to have the microfiber use here. These buttons on the steering wheel, they will be #capacitivebs, that's a thing here at our channel, but they will give you actually a vibrating feedback. So when you press it, you have the feeling that you would be pressing something, although the button itself is not moving. Have you seen the steering wheel, like with these spokes here? So I talked to Leah about that earlier, and she also said, doesn't it look like it would be upside down? And I think the thing is, because of these spokes here, you always, I used to see these spokes only in the lower part of the steering wheel, and that's why you think it could also be upside down, right? Well, at least, when you're at a roundabout or something, wait a minute, which side I'm turning it in? Yeah, very interesting. Look at these pedals here, by the way, super clean. I guess they will also get some structure when we have them, and I'll soon actually do something with the pedals, which will be even more exciting. So it's comfortable, also cozy here for the shoulder area. And if you go for the fabric solution or the high-grade leatherette, it's totally up to you. In both cases, all these new EVs by BMW will be animal-free, so better for the animals. It's actually less environmental impact, and of course better for humans then after all. Hey, and then you still have this popping up screen right here. So one of the personalizing features here will be that you can actually send images from your phone to the screen, and then also add a filter here, for example, just like you used from social media, for example. So this will be possible. Maybe I would have, like my cat on there as well. Then you have this main menu, and you have the climate unit. This is a little bit more simplified, I would say. So you rather swipe here, and you can not only see it here, but also on the top in the panoramic vision, that you maybe just use your finger here and then look at what's happening in the panoramic vision. Then here, this personal mode is also very interesting. This is called hypersonics wheel, and this is a completely new function. You already hear that here. So what I'm doing here is I can design my own acceleration sound. And I'm now using the throttle pedal, then you can hear that, it's kind of accelerating, and then I can control in which direction I want to have it. This is more like this sporty style, this is more spaceship, something in between, and agile maybe even more. So, and then you can pick something in between, and then when you have it maybe like here, expressive. Ooh. So this is maybe like, yeah, most futuristic. I would probably have it more like low frequency, you know, or what would you actually do? Tell me in the comments. Other than that, you can see here a lot of fabric use, no black plastic or something. That's also quite cool. Very expressive cockpit. You can even connect your Instagram feed here, by the way, indirect, and then, for example, start liking a Autogefühl post when you're stationary and recharging the vehicle, for example. So now in the front there, you can have your own widgets. For example, here, you can control where you want to have the weather widgets. Oh, I wish it would be 32 degrees outside now, but it's actually not. But it's very interesting that you can choose the position. And that's actually really easy. So you can just pull down these, then you have an empty area, also with the time. And then you can decide where do you want to see what. For example, and here, where am I for the GPS? Like here, traffic information here, trip info, yeah, maybe the time here, media info there, air quality here. And then, you know, I have everything aligned right here and also in this panoramic vision at the same time. And as you can see, it's actually quite responsive, so you can just, you know, well, like range also here or the compass. And of course, you can see like the focus is on the camera. Your eye also has to refocus, but the sense of it is that your focus always stays here in the panoramic vision while driving. So controlling the climate functions is a very emotional topic, also to me. You know, when you follow our channel for a long time, I am a true fan of real climate dials. And they say that some of the functions are supposed to be still physical. For example, we can expect a physical volume knob somewhere then in the final version. However, here the climate unit will be like this. And they say it's simplified to the version we have at this moment. However, I feel I still prefer the physical things. Volkswagen is going back now to physical buttons because of feedback from their customers. BMW says they also made a survey among 2,000 BMW customers, plus had a data set of 10 million BMW vehicles with anonymous data being transported from the vehicles to their systems, what people did use. And I asked them, did they use the physical buttons for the climate? They said, yes, they did. And that's why they made it that prominent, always staying in that area. But I was concluding, wait a minute, if they're using the real buttons, why not stick with real buttons? Well, my estimation or my conclusion from that, why that is there is like a difference in the markets, at least from, you know, what they say. So the Europeans and the American or Northern American customers, Canadians of course as well, they rather want the physical input. But then when they go to the Chinese market, which is of course really high in sales, then they say, hey, you know, when there are a lot of physical controls, that's maybe outdated, it's not modern enough, and you compete with the other Chinese vehicles, which also only have like maybe the screen and that's it. And yeah, and then they have to find a solution in between for that. Still, I feel I would have like the physical interface maybe as an option. You don't have to use it, but it's still there. I think it's also always a way to interact with the vehicle properly. You know what I mean? Tell me your feedback about this decision. What do you think here, by the way, of this frameless mirror? Middle console, here you have some space, and this will then be the shifting lever, similar integrated like it is before, just pulled backward or pulled forward. And you can see this is a flying middle console, so you have space underneath then, like on the living room floor. So this is one of the Easter eggs they included here from the design team, because they really think they are onto something. And I think there's really a new spirit actually in the BMW team, especially concerning the new EVs, because they also want to try some things. Then here, let's look at the rear door. Very classic design overall, but then more fabric use, and I like that everything is basically covered and looks really more premium. And I also love that feature here with the pillows, right? I'm not sure if these ones will be standard equipment. But what I can tell you is that their whole strategy also from the build configurator, we know there's, at this moment, there's Tesla on the one side, where you can just pick the color, basically, and that's it. And then there are the German premium manufacturers, where you have maybe like 500,000 configuration options overall, because you can combine this with that. And they want to reduce that complexity a lot to make it simpler to configure cars. And that also means there will be more standard equipment for the vehicles. Rear seating is actually, again, more like a living room atmosphere. You can see here also the headroom I have here, no problem with that glass roof. Then you can also enjoy actually the view. The pillow, why not? I mean, this makes a little bit more of a luxury car experience. Legroom here, this is actually behind the passenger seat at the moment. So, you know, the length here will be somewhat, again, in the iX3, X3 direction, or Tesla Model Y competitor. It is actually like 4.70 m, 185 inches in that direction. And these are then also standard measurements for the interior space. Just that you have this through bench, which is actually classic BMW. If you think about even like a BMW E30, it used to be always this through bench. Just that here, the big difference is, of course, that you have no rear middle tunnel using all of that EV platform. If you like what you've seen, but you want it as a sedan, yeah, it's also coming as the next electric 3 Series. But maybe you say, I want an electric SUV right now. Well, there's the iX or the current iX3.